to make some hamburger soup, but this was another recipe on Jill's wish list for Christmas. Another family recipe she wanted to pass down. So we're going to go to the farm tomorrow, so I thought that I would make a big batch of soup tonight to take to the farm so that we have some quick meals, some warm stuff, because Dad will be working outside most of the day helping move grain. So I've started the soup, and so I've already got some of the stuff in the pot. Then we're just going to finish it together. So start with your ground meat. So you can make this soup with any kind of ground meat that you want. If you want to make a vegetarian, you could use lentils, you could use mushrooms, or you could use a Beyond Meat or meat substitute for a vegetarian version. So I've got the meat browning, a pound of ground beef, and I've already added a chopped up onion, so one large onion, and then I have added 2 stalks of chopped celery. And now I'm going to add the carrots, and then we're going to finish adding the tomatoes and the broth. So this is what it's looking like now. So I chopped up about 4 carrots. I'm going to put most of them in the big pot and a few of them in the little pot where the vegetarian version is cooking. So this one's the vegetarian version, and this one has the ground beef in it. So I've already also put the seasoning in, so salt and pepper, and then I also use some thyme and some cumin. And again, if you add the seasoning before you start adding all of the broth, you get the seasoning dispersed more on the vegetables and the meat. So I've been making my own vegetable stock, and so I've got some chicken stock as well that I made. So I just bought some bones and backs and boiled it up on the stove. So I've got chicken stock, and I have my homemade vegetable stock. So the vegetable stock, I just keep the peelings. From the vegetables during the week, and then whatever's in there I throw into the soup pot and boil it up for 3 or 4 hours to get the flavor and the nutrients out of the peelings, and then I freeze it. So it's always different depending on what vegetables we've had. I am going to add about half of the vegetable stock to the big pot. A little bit to the other pot, and I'm going to put all of the chicken stock in the non-vegetarian pot. So again, bone broth is really good for you, so this is giving us some homemade bone broth, and I'm going to put the rest of the vegetable stock in there as well, and then we're going to also put some tomatoes in. So I put half of this can in the vegetarian one already. It's a smaller batch, and we'll put the other 1.5 cans in here. Because lots of times my hamburger soup is got a pretty hearty tomato flavor, so I'm going to put that in. And then I am going to put a little bit of pot barley in. So you can cook some barley on the side if you're not sure if people are, what their dietary habits are. I put a little bit of pot barley in, and then you can always cook more, and people can add more. But I find this little bit of barley just helps the soup stick to your ribs and helps keep you full longer. So I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup of pot barley in, mix that up, and then to add some additional layers of flavor, I put in some Worcestershire sauce, so just a couple of dashes, and I put in a couple of dashes of hot sauce, and then tomato paste. So when I open a can of tomato paste, I freeze them in kind of tablespoon-like lumps, and then I pot. So this is a big pot of soup, so I'm putting 2 in here, and I will put 1 in my small vegetarian pot of soup. And then all we have to do now is put the lid on and let it simmer and cook. As I put pot barley in, it'll take at least 45 minutes for that barley to soften. So you want to leave it on long enough that all your vegetables are tender and the flavors have gone throughout your soup. And serve it with bun, with a salad, or whatever else that you'd like to add with your soup. And that's the hamburger soup recipe.